Hey there folks, Wrel here. In the background you'll see some gameplay from PlanetSide 2 that should be pretty familiar from the most recent Killstreak Tuesday video, which I'll also link in the video description. But in this Thoughts on Better Gaming episode, we're actually going to be talking about ownership in the games that we play, not agency. The terms are similar in a sense that they lend power to the player, but they're different in function. And to define these terms a little bit, ownership is basically the feeling that something belongs to you. So this has my name on it, this is my character, I can do what I want with it, and I own it. Whereas agency is more the player's ability to influence a game through their actions and decisions. In other words, I can choose which path the story is going to take, opposed to the game doing it for me. And those aren't technical definitions by any stretch of the imagination, just loose ones that help frame the discussion. Ownership is a massive, massive part of the games that we play, and more so today than in the past. Back in the 80s and 90s, the greatest sense of ownership that we got from gaming was just to put our initials on the top of the arcade machine scoreboard. If you move a little bit beyond that, whether it's making an account on the forums or creating a character, you usually have a specific name that you want to use. That's you, that's what you like to be called, that's what you go by, you own that name and that character. And it becomes a little bit less about bragging rights and more about identity. Likewise, our characters in games today have absurd amounts of customization options, many of which you will end up paying for because we just don't want to look like everyone else. In the most recent days, you don't even have to get into a game before getting to put your name on it. If you pre-order or if you fund a game through Kickstarter, you'll maybe get early access, you'll get special items that no one else will have access to, you get to reserve your name and perhaps your guild's name too. And it boils down to not only owning something, but it has a little bit to do with exclusivity, as well as the feeling that we may be missing out if we don't get all the bells and whistles. But either way, this isn't a new phenomenon, or even one that's become worse over time. It's just more applicable now to gaming than it used to be. It's being enabled more by the way today's games are designed, from the day you start raising funds on Kickstarter, to when you decide to implement a microtransaction model, to when you start dropping DLC. And the common point of debate I hear is that, well, I just play games to have fun. I don't need achievements, I don't need leaderboards and unlocks, and that's fine, I get that, but I want you to think about which games you play the most, and again about which of those games gives you a sense of ownership, prestige, or permanence. Imagine, for example, what would happen if everything in Minecraft was ephemeral or temporary? What if you couldn't keep the things that you made, and instead, as soon as you logged off, everything just disappeared, poof, gone forever? If that was the case, Minecraft wouldn't be nearly as successful as it is, right? In fact, you'd probably see bot programs that deliberately hold open servers while you go to sleep or go on about your day, just so that all the time that you spent in-game doesn't suddenly evaporate. And I bring this up because creation is a big part of what makes the game fun. We like to harvest things, we like to put things together, just the act of making stuff in Minecraft. And if we truly played a game just to have fun, then that would probably be enough. But we don't, and it isn't. We need some tangible justification of our time spent, be it in the form of progression in-game, or be it in the form of becoming more skilled at the games that we play, or even advancement of our own egos and reputations. I'm not revealing some great mysterious truth here, it's embedded in everything that we do. When we own, control, or possess something, we tend to place more value in it than someone else who doesn't own it. This is something that behavioral psychology calls the endowment effect. And if you've ever sold a car before, you probably get this. You might list the car at the Kelley Blue Book price or higher, but the guy who's looking to buy it from you probably wants it for half of that. What's more interesting is that even imagining that we own something makes it feel more valuable to us. This is why we'll say something like, we're only going to spend $80 for that camera on eBay at most. But when we're outbid at the last minute, we'll make a last-ditch bid up to $110 just to make sure we win. It's because we envision ourselves owning the camera, and it's real and it's ours and we want it, and because of that, we place more value on that object, and we're willing to throw our old limitations out the window. And then after we've made the purchase, we can rationalize that decision away. Usually something like, well, it was a $200 camera anyway, and I'm still getting a great deal, even though we originally said that we're only going to pay $80 at the start. Dan Ariely actually talks about this concept of virtual ownership in his book, Predictably Irrational. Of course, throughout this I've been painting a pretty broad definition of ownership here, owning your name, owning your character, owning your achievements, a stake in the game's development, even owning the mentality that you are the best of your friends at the game that you all play. The reason I keep this definition a bit wide open is because the important part is not the actual possession of something. It's not that we own a something. It's the social interactions that happen because of it. I think that ownership is a very necessary part of the games that we play for this reason. In fact, if you're not providing your user base with as many ways to own their content as you possibly can, then you're probably selling yourself short. For example, PlanetSide 2 recently patched in the ability for outfits to claim territory in the name of their outfit, or clan or guild, whatever you want to call it. Whichever outfit did the most work securing the base, that's the outfit that would claim that base. And that outfit's name and their logo would show up right on the map and right on the banners that hang outside the base. That's why I happen to be using this footage specifically. I wanted to own this base really, really badly. That's why you'll see me playing tryhard and why I'll constantly be checking the scoreboard. I had something like 3 times the amount of points of the players below me, so this was a very, very possible outcome. I'd go so far as to say that this system of claiming territory in your outfit's name is one of PlanetSide 2's most important additions since launch. Before this update, capturing or losing territory was basically meaningless because the territory was always in flux. It belonged to one of 3 NPC factions that we, as players, have no real attachment to. The players themselves had no personal stake in the game, no reason to feel involved, no reason to feel committed to gaining or losing that territory. And as a whole, you still may not. If you're just the random player floating from fight to fight, enjoying each battle as it comes to you, then you probably could care less about which group of players owns each territory. But to the owners of these territories, it can be a completely different experience. Most outfits have a sense of pride and they want to defend what they earned, just like the guy who builds stuff in Minecraft wants to keep what he made. Likewise, if you see a territory owned by a big opposing outfit that you just really don't like, you probably want to take that territory from them as a big sort of virtual middle finger, and in some cases it even encourages competition between outfits of the same faction. Who can fight the hardest, who can bring in the most guys to win the base? This sort of interplay, and even political side of PlanetSide 2, simply did not exist without the introduction of this mechanic. And it needs to exist, because the more that you encourage your player base to interact with one another on the level of one human being to another, the more the game is going to feel like a connected, social, and worthwhile experience, and less like sitting in a playroom stacking blocks by yourself. If this video has been interesting, helpful, or entertaining, please feel free to like, subscribe, tell your friends about the channel. And I want to ask, which games do you feel could benefit from more ownership mechanics? What are your favorite games that you think do it right? And what kinds of experiences have you had because of it? Go ahead and leave those thoughts in the comments section down below. Thanks very much, folks. Wrel signing off.